Sometimes at night I have cravings for a chocolate chip cookie. Luckily, I keep my favorite recipe balled up in the freezer. Today we're going to make cookies. Best part is you can throw these in the freezer and you can have home-baked cookies whenever you want. So let's get started. A chocolate chip cookie needs to have pecans. The crunch and the flavor adds a unique quality that is wonderful. So I have 1 cup of pecans that I'm chopping up. You want the pecans about the size of the chocolate chips. If you have walnuts or another nut, you can use that as well. I just think pecans are the best. I'm gonna put them in this bowl. You can add butter, but I have a little bit of Crisco here. I'm just gonna put about a tablespoon. I'm not even gonna measure, just a little bit, just to coat it. And a pinch of sugar. This is the only part of the recipe that it looks like I'm guessing. Everything else is measured out. Roasting nuts is really simple. I have the oven preheated at 350 degrees. I have a sheet laid out here. There we go. Look at that. I'm going to set the timer for 8 minutes. I have half a cup of sugar. And then this is half a cup of light brown sugar and dark brown sugar. I add the dark brown sugar because it gives it an edgier taste. Okay, you're going to add half a cup of butter. It's important that your butter is room temperature. You might think, oh, I've made cookies a dozen times and every time the shape comes out differently or the texture of your cookie. And it has to do with the temperature of your butter. Get room temperature butter and cream it against your sugars. This will give you that perfectly crunchy, delicious cookie. Order is really important when making a cookie. And so now that I've creamed it, I'll add my egg. And I'm gonna add a teaspoon and a half of vanilla. Here's a teaspoon. I have this vanilla, which is basically vanilla beans soaked in vodka, and I'm just gonna do half. It adds a sharpness to the cookies that I really like. Okay. I'm gonna whisk together the egg and the vanilla. And I'm gonna get back to creaming. All right. I have 185 grams of flour. I like to weigh out my flour. It's more precise in my opinion, but you can also do a cup and 1/4 of a cup. I think that cornstarch really helps with the texture of your cookie. And then a half a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of baking soda. This is what I'm going to use for sifting. It's pretty small, but you can use something bigger if you have it. I would recommend it. Just going to put that in here. I don't always sift it. The best quality, I would sift it. Yeah. The nuts are done. Pulling them out. And you can smell that they're done. Now the trouble with these nuts is that they're going to be too hot to add to our butter. So I'll put them in this little container and just put them in the freezer. All right. And of course, chocolate chips. For my chocolate chip cookies, I like to add a variety. See? I put a 1.5 cups in there, and it's essentially a mixture of all of these. They're all dark chocolate from 60 to 70%. You can go as high as 75%, but 80% is a little bitter. This is beautiful. All right. So I have my cup of pecans. Sometimes it's really hard, so if you need to get in there with your hands, that's perfectly fine. I've certainly done that. You just want to make sure to get enough pecan and chocolate chip for each bite. There you go. And we have cookie dough. So take your cookie dough, grab a spoon, and you're going to make your cookie balls. I don't measure them. Probably should, but I make them about this size. You can make them as big or as small as you want them. Understand that it's going to affect the cooking time. If they're big enough, the outside's going to be really crunchy, the inside's going to be gooey. But if they're too small, they're just going to cook straight through. I tend to make them a little bit bigger. And if you want to eat a little bit of the cookie dough, that's okay. Alright, if you just pop them in the oven at this point, they're gonna flatten out and you're gonna get these little cookie chips. The key to perfectly structured cooking is freezing them. I know, who wants to wait for that? But I make all my cookies in advance, and so they'll be in the freezer, and anytime I want a cookie, I have these nifty little bags. Freezer. And luckily, I already have some stored cookies. Preheat your oven to 325. Just gonna pop these on this sheet. I'm gonna set a timer for 22 minutes. At 22, 23, you'll see the top start to brown. And the more that you make them, the more you're gonna get an idea of how you like them. Cut to 22 minutes later. Now it's just a matter of waiting 5 minutes.